a successful salesperson needs two things: a lot of empathy to really understand their customers. They really understand the context, the problem they're trying to solve, what might be blocking things. But then a great salesperson also is really organized. They can take, let's say, 20, 50, 100, maybe a few hundred leads at once through that process in a way that to the lead, it feels like they're the only one.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the None of Your Business podcast. You've got Shawn and Lacey here with you, just as we are each and every week. And we're super excited this week. We are going to be talking about all things CRM. What is it? How do you use it? How can you leverage this tool to reach more people, to make more sales? All things CRM. We have with us Jeroen Corthout. I say that right?
You did.
From Salesflare. Salesflare, they are an emerging tool for entrepreneurs of all types, but especially for you guys, service providers who are wondering, how can I begin to curate all of my resources, my leads, my contacts, my prospects? And, we teach so much about organizing your relational capital. Of course, there's bank accounts, there's tools like QuickBooks. So your actual financial capital, you don't put it in a shoebox, you organize
Some
it.
people still do.
Well, maybe you do if you're a gangster.
But you shouldn't.
You put it in the bank, and then even just putting it in the bank's not sufficient because you have transactions. So you want to keep up with it. So you have tools like Xero and QuickBooks, and you are working through and keeping track of it. But what about your relational capital? Likewise, you don't have, you do. The equivalent to the shoebox is you have this like a drawer, and it's got like 10,000 business cards that have been handed to you at networking meetings over the course of, the many months or years that you've been in business, but it's not organized. And then you're like, oh no, I'm going to organize it, right? So you put it, Outlook, like you just, you put it in your phone. And so you have your contacts, but then you're not actually keeping track of the transactions. You don't know the ins, the outs, the messaging. And that's why, frankly, many of you suffer with your relational capital and converting the relational capital over to being monetized into business. So we're going to talk about all of these things with Jeroen. Jeroen, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell us about Salesflare. This is this new tool that you guys have put onto the market. We see it trending very, very well. It's doing amazing. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Salesflare is basically a CRM that we built not because we thought the world needed another one, because there's so many out there. I think on G2 we have 650 or something now. It's because we saw that most CRMs don't really work. They don't really work in the sense that, the software works, but we see that people can't really work with it. They just can't keep up with all the data, but they need to do to make the system work. And then in the end, they don't get all the benefits from it. So we built a system that actually automates much of that. So it takes the information from where it already is in your emails, in your calendar, in your phone. Maybe you have business cards. We have a business card scanner. You can quickly scan stuff. It takes things from email signatures, from social profiles, from email tracking, web tracking. It pulls it all together, and you immediately have that living sort of, on the one hand, database with all your customer information, but also an overview of all the interactions you're having with people. And then very quickly, you can start organizing yourself based on that, and you can build better relationships and make more sales.
So let's go super basic for our viewers and listeners just to begin. Let's say somebody doesn't have a CRM at all. They realize, hopefully, that what you're talking about is fantastic. They have to start somewhere. What is the best way to start? So they go on, they get Salesflare. Then what sort of the first things that someone can do that will begin to give them the biggest bang for their buck in efficiency and effectiveness, and hopefully even leading towards monetizing their contacts?
Yeah, I would say, so to start off with Salesflare, just go to the site, you say, sign me up for an account, and then you connect your email address, and from there it starts synchronizing. You also connect to your calendar. It will create your contact database based on that. So it will look who you were in touch with. It will map that, and it will know what emails, pull email signatures out of there, find extra information about people through, it says, well, this email address, what social profiles can we find? All of that. What people mostly have, like you mentioned earlier, is a QuickBooks or Xero. What's very handy there is you just make an export of that. You get a CSV, then you say import that into Salesflare, and you immediately have your current customers in there. Anyone you ever built, you have in there, you map them, and you can sort of start working from there. I think that's probably the best way to get started. Salesflare will immediately pull in all the emails, the meetings, anything that is already there will immediately be visible. And then you can start wondering, like, what is it that I want to do with these people? Do I want to send them an email campaign? Do I want to start setting up a sales process, a sales pipeline, where I want to define, like, okay, I'm going to take them through it to maybe reactivate them? Do I want to go after new leads and work on those? Those are all possibilities you have from there.
Okay, so the first thought I have is that a lot of people have heard of CRMs, and to them it might feel a little bit overwhelming because a lot of individuals that haven't used it yet, maybe they're not super tech savvy. So what I'm hearing you say is it's nice because you just connect it and it starts pulling information. Now, for those that probably haven't been organized in the past, they may have 10,000 emails in their inbox. How does this help somebody also clean up some of the stuff that they have in the past to be able to be a more effective salesperson or relationship person?
Yeah, so it will, first of all, create a database of contacts. From the contacts, you can decide to create companies as well for specific people. And then when you do that, you have a contact in a company, and then it will also pull in emails and stuff. It will not pull in all the emails you have, only related to the people you want to be in touch with, that you actually want to follow up.
Of that, because that not only allows it to make it easy and efficient, but it allows you to help and aid in the process of cleaning things up as you engage with the CRM, which I think for a lot of individuals out there, especially if you've been running your business by yourself, it's probably a need.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People often start from sheets because it's so simple and it feels like you won't have to do a lot of work. And then at some point they run into the issue where they find that the sheet is not sufficient anymore, because it's very hard, for instance, in a sheet to keep track of your timeline. It's very hard to put that in a little cell in your sheet. So then they need to start migrating to something else. And then we allow them also to import that information after a little bit of cleanup, perhaps. So sheets can get quite messy. Then you can get started from there immediately.
Sure.
Tell us the extras, the boost that we would get, because I think that, yes, a lot of people do sheets. A lot of people then go to these suites, whether it's through Google or Microsoft. I mean, there's many other, email clients that integrate with your calendar, and they're trying to juggle all of their, because you have your email, you have your contacts, you have your calendar in a suite, and they're kind of juggling it there. What's the compelling argument to move from a suite operation and then go just push it all into a CRM?
Yeah, so there's a few things. First, you can create full timelines, like all the emails, the meetings, the calls, the interactions with the emails, with the website, notes, anything you can keep in timelines. Connected to that, you also have opportunities or deals, whatever you want to call them. So you can keep track. I have a sales opportunity with this company, and then you can track that through your sales process. And linked to that as well, you have tasks. So you can say, like, I need to remember to call John in 3 days, for instance, or I assign it to my colleague. Please call John in 3 days. And then on top of all that, you get all kinds of live notifications of what's happening. You can also send email campaigns or automate emails in the process if you like. You have dashboards about how you're doing, like are you creating a lot of new leads? Are you creating a lot of new revenue? Are you actually doing the work and sending emails, having meetings and all those kind of things? All of that is trackable, and it's very hard to keep track of that just in your G Suite. Now, we actually bring, if you're using G Suite or you're using Microsoft Outlook, Salesflare can also show up within your inbox. So you don't necessarily need to leave that place, but you all have all this extra information in there.
So how would I know, if I was a listener out there, that I am the right person to jump into a CRM? Like, what are some indicators that you've seen with your users where they needed to start using the CRM and they didn't quite know it yet?
I think it usually happens in one of two cases. Well, there's more cases, but one is the amount of leads goes somewhere above 15 or 20 or so. I mean, it might still work with a sheet, but it starts becoming hard. You definitely can't do it with your brains alone anymore. And then people might say, okay, I need to move this somewhere where I can keep it organized. A second case is where a small business hires their first salesperson, and the owner alone, it was all fine to do it in a sheet, but all of a sudden they have this extra person, and they want to have a bit of control there, or as they like to call it, accountability and transparency. They want to be able to coach that person, and then they just need that visibility on what is the person doing, and you don't have that in a sheet. So then a lot of companies also go look for a CRM.
I love that. You have also expertise for those that are interested in marketing and sales. Tell us some of your case studies, if you will, or some examples of how your clients are able to leverage the CRM to create more top line revenue, more sales, more money coming in.
I think you can bring it down to one thing there. I mean, there's many things, but the most important thing is better follow-up. If you don't have a great system, then it's quite hard to scale your follow-up and scale your relationship building. A successful salesperson needs two things: a lot of empathy to really understand their customers. They really understand the context, the problem they're trying to solve, what might be blocking things. But then a great salesperson also is really organized. So they can take, let's say, 20, 50, 100, maybe a few hundred leads at once through that process in a way that to the lead, it feels like they're the only one. It feels like they're a real respected prospect or customer. And that is only possible if you organize yourself well. And that is actually the main case why we see that people come to a CRM like ours. It's they want to follow up better. And I remember one customer I recently talked to, they're just 3 people, and they told me that they earn $1 million more per year just by doing better follow-up. It sounds maybe sounds simple, maybe even too good to be true or something, but that's just what it is. There's so much opportunity that goes lost just because you don't remember, and customers get disappointed because all of a sudden the salesperson is gone. Where is he now? Why is he not following up? And just having a good system can solve that.
And how much of the follow-up through the CRM can be automated? I think, that's one thing that a lot of people are looking for. Not only do they want to be reminded, but then they don't want to go in and have to type out some
The
sort of
same email,
response.
yeah,
Yes.
over and over and over.
So how much can we automate if we're using Salesflare?
I think there's a few levels to that, and there's what you can automate and what you should automate. I think you can theoretically automate everything, but I think it might lead to a bad customer experience. I think you should automate the parts that are automatable without the other person feeling like the experience is diminished. Like for instance, if I'm reaching out to people and it's not within a conversation, but I'm starting a conversation, that is a very obvious place that I can automate, because I can send them something which is probably really personalized. I mean, in Salesflare, you can send these sequences until people reply to something, and I can put in their name and their company name, and maybe even a full sentence that is that I researched about them or whatever. And I can send another email. Now, the moment that they start replying, then it starts becoming a bit more dangerous to automate, at least to send fully automated things. What you can do at that moment is a lower level of automation, is to have templates. If people they respond in a few possible cases, you can have templates ready for that. And then, well, in our system, you can just type hashtags, start typing the thing, and then enter, and then that appears. You click send, and it's gone. That also can include names, so you can already have a place for the name in there that you don't have to fill out. The system does that for you. And then another level to it is being automatically reminded to do things, but then fully sort of customized, where you actually do the thing like you'd normally do manually. But at least doing it at the right time, because I mean, you might forget as well.
Yeah, I love the idea of your CRM being like your personal accountability partner, because I think that that's the biggest thing that we see with even our clients is not great follow-up. And so I love that you hit on that. Not only can you automate some of the follow-up, but this helps remind you to follow up. And like the case study of the individual that, increased by maybe $1 million, I bet a lot of that came from just following up in a timely manner and connecting with
Yes.
their clients at the right time. And so what other kind of things are built in here in the CRM, if I was using it as an individual, that would help hold me to another level of accountability and organization that may also increase my profitability?
Yeah, so next to the knowing who your customers are, what you last discussed with them, having all that overview, having the automated reminders, and being able to use the templates and the automated emails and all that, some of the things that our customers find really handy is to know, for instance, when a customer opens an email, clicks on links in there, maybe goes to your site, and what kind of pages they're looking at. At that point, you can pick up your phone, call them and say, hey, how's it going with this? Maybe we can talk about this further. And they're like, oh, wow, just on your site, good timing. That can really help push things forward as well. A few other things we do is, for instance, visualizing which deals you're forgetting to follow up. In the dashboard, you can see that. So you can see like, oh, maybe those things I should definitely look at now. There's also automated lead scoring, which basically looks at the tracking. It can see whether people open a lot, click, go to the site. It calculates a score based on that. And then if people reach a certain level there, it will say this account is hot. And I think we have another level that's on fire. So that says you definitely need to follow up with these people right now.
I love it. And once they get on fire, let's talk a little bit on the advanced side, Jeroen. What about I see it on the website, we have information relative to integrating with your sales processes, and you guys have an API where we can utilize Zaps to do basically to integrate with almost anything. What are some of the advanced concepts where you've seen people utilizing Zaps to integrate into other programs that maybe even you yourself, you were like, that's super cool how they've created this integration and they're finding extra boost in productivity and sales? where they're getting out of Salesforce, maybe even more than what you expected them to be able to do?
Yeah. I the ones that I find really exciting are probably a bit niche. So I'll probably go into the more basic ones, which are more handy for the listeners. I think some of the more common ones are, for instance, when you drag an opportunity to one. So you've closed a deal that you already pre-create in QuickBooks or in Xero. You pre-create an invoice that you can easily do with a SAP, like opportunity one, then do that. Another commonly used is when you tag someone as newsletter in Salesflare, or just any new customer that you have, whatever. You can define it the way you like. Then push them into MailChimp to put them on your newsletter. That also happens often. But we have a lot of marketing agencies on the software. What some of them do is, as soon as an opportunity reaches a certain stage where they start handling the project management, that they might already prepare that automatically in their project management tool, where they pre-create maybe a board, maybe a task, depends a bit on what they're using, and they can work from there.
Those are super cool.
That's awesome.
We're talking today about Salesflare, www.salesflare.com. Our guest during the entire time, Jeroen. Is that right?
He's got
Did I
that
get
right.
that
That's
right?
right.
That's completely correct.
Jeroen
Perfect.
Corthout. And he's been telling us all of the amazing things that you can do with Salesforce or Salesflare, and the integrations, and all the way from basic Gmail, Outlook to advanced. And then, even if you're listening and you're like, well, I'm one of the niches. Well, you've got to visit the website, look at all of the cool things that you can do with this tool so that we can up your productivity, your conversions,
increase your organization,
yes,
automate your follow-up, hold you accountable for your follow-up, and then increase your ability to make more money.
So, Jeroen, how would people contact or get in contact with Salesflare? Start using it. I noticed you have they can use it for free. There's a free trial. People can start and jump in and take it for a test drive, see if it's something that they're going to use. Any other tips for people that want to jump on board with you and get going?
Yeah, I would say maybe a good tip is to first take one step back and think about what you want a CRM for. Salesflare might be a fit, might not be a fit for you. Salesflare is a great fit for if you're doing B2B sales as a small or medium-sized business and you want to increase your follow-up. If you're, for instance, a real estate business, then you need something else. If you have an e-commerce shop, you also need something else. If you're in the first case, salesflare.com, you can see the software even before creating an account. If you click try it free, you first get a walkthrough and then you can connect your emails and if you like it. But also, whatever your case is, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. To include a personal message, so I know where you're coming from. Otherwise, I'll just assume it's spam, like most of the things I get on LinkedIn.
For sure.
And you can always ask what I think is the best CRM for whatever case you're in. I'm happy to help.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Jeroen. You've been a fantastic guest, very informative, and I'm sure that people got a ton out of it. We, again, want to encourage everybody to check out Salesflare, www.salesflare.com. And what a gracious offer. Connect with Jeroen and find him on LinkedIn. He'll be happy to point you in the right direction. I always love when people realize that they're not everybody's everything. There are tons of options out there. Salesflare is great, as Jeroen was saying, for particular cases. And if you want to know if it's great for you, then you should connect with him and he will be happy to point you in the right direction. Thank you, Jeroen. You've been fantastic. We appreciate having you on the None of Your Business podcast.
Thank you. This was fun.
All right, everybody. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of the None of Your Business podcast. In the meantime, make sure that you subscribe, leave us a review. Tell us what you think about Salesflare. Tell us what you want to hear more of. We'd be happy to find the appropriate people for you and bring them to you right here on None of Your Business.